out today, and of course it's right after I did the OBS update. So now I'll never know whether it's that or something else. But we'll find out, I guess, as we move on in our journeys. So today's a big day of suckiness. Something I've been delaying doing is happening. And that is, I'm going to take a good hard look in the mirror, and I'm going to say, hey, maybe the way we're doing UI is not the way we should do it. And so we're gonna rethink what's going on here. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just bust out I'm just going to bust out we're going to bust out Obsidian, and we'll start to plot out how things are actually working in it. This is something, here's the deal. Here's what's really going on. This is something that, like, you can, in some games and I'm guessing in some systems, how do I put it? Like, okay, so if you think about Super Mario World, let's take Super Mario World. And in Super Mario World, it's like, oh, hey, we need to show some score at the top. I think there's still score in Super Mario World. It's still a vestige, a leftover of arcade games, right? So you got a score, you got your power-up symbol at the top that can fall down. That's probably the most complicated UI element in Super Mario World that I can think of off the top of my head. And then you've got sort of like pretend UI stuff, like the blocks, which are actually just, sprites and stuff that are a part of the regular gameplay. I could consider that UI kind of, it acts like a button basically, but it's part of the actual gameplay. Okay, so then you've got some other elements too. You've got the stage you're on. You've got a couple other things. When you complete the stage, it shows like a point thing. Very simple, because those can all be like inputs. You say, show the final score, and then give it the value, or it already knows it, and then you can pre-script all that stuff. With however you're doing the graphical elements for the game or whatever. No problem. And I was thinking about, do I suck? Is that what's going on here? Is it because I suck and I don't know what I'm doing? The answer is yes, I don't know what I'm doing. But I don't think it's necessarily that I suck so much as this stuff sucks. What I mean to say is, like, I think that part of this is we're dealing with how do we put it? We're dealing with, okay, so the reason why I'm giving up Super Mario World as an example is that, like, you could do that in a really bad way and it wouldn't be taxing for the development of the game. Because once you have it working, fine. You don't really need to touch it unless you've really horked something up that it, like, there's some sort of memory leak or whatever that could be. But what I'm saying is, you could do it really badly and get by on it, right? But because I suck, maybe this is what I'm saying, is that I suck. But because of this complexities of this kind of game, this needs to be thought out much more. Because you're going to be touching this code so much, and so much is going to be hinged on this thing. In a way, so when I was first making this, I was thinking about the menu system, or I'm sorry, I was thinking about the combat system as being the spoke, the center point of a hub that all other things would come out on. And I was like, well, this isn't working. This is actually creating a ton of issues. So I unspoked it, right? And it's its own gear in this machine. I did the same thing with the actors. They're their own gear in the machine. And I did the same thing with the menu. It's its own gear. and the stages and all that. But the problem is that I need some sort of conductor that handles this menu stuff in a much more rational way. Because right now, using signals the way that I am, I equate it to I equate the way that I'm using signals with the menu system. It's like a ball of yarn, except that it's not just one. It's a ball of yarns. It is not just one yarn of one color haphazardly wrapped together and that you can easily just unwrap. It doesn't really matter. This is like a dozen colors mixed together that have all been wrapped up in a yarn. This is the problem that I'm encountering with relying on a signal system for the menus. It actually, by having everything decoupled the way that I do, sorry for the camera stuff, but by having everything decoupled the way that I do, it actually is creating this issue of like there's no centralized thing, and so everything's too disparate, if that makes any sense. And I this is my own fault. I delayed touching. I knew every time I touched that menu code, I said this sucked. I don't like this. And so what I'm saying is, in a regular game, you could do a menu poorly and it would be fine. The menu would still work. You could do the code the whole thing could just be awful. It could be, the approach could be awful, but it works and you can get by with it and it's not going to be a problem. But this game is so reliant on UI and UX, these kinds of games, that you need something that you can really slap things into it and grow it and not get like overwhelmed by it, or I don't know, overwhelmed's not the right word, but in a way you need to be able to, I calling it a conductor. It needs something to conduct all of these things. And so the separating of the combat from the actors and all that blah, 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 that's all fine. And I'm glad I did that. But using signals the way that I'm using it it's too loose. I don't know what to call it, but we're going to take a look today. We're going to look at what I'm doing, map it out so that we visually can see the disaster that it is. And then I'm going to go, okay, how should this work? The menu system itself, the root code is bad. I don't like it. I think the other thing that possibly threw me awry on this was, it's one of those things where I didn't really do it from scratch. I kind of got a pattern that was suggested, and I think that really might have. I don't know yet, but we're gonna see. I actually honestly don't know. So, anyways, let's. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make sure I have the right extension installed here. Let's go to community plugins, and we just want to make sure that we have. Okay, Kanban's the only one that's installed. We want that drawing. Would it be flowchart? Chart. Obsidian charts. It's not a chart. I lost the plugin that I was using. But we're gonna kind of draw out the way that everything is now, and then we're gonna take a look at that and go, okay, let's blue ocean this and figure out why, like what would be the ideal way. It's just okay. So again, part of the problem is, and this is where I think the quote unquote like abstracting elements, the things that I need to put into, like, let's say functions or methods or whatever. Just thinking about it right now off the top of my head. You know, the other thing that's really been screwing this up is, for whatever reason, in my mental state lately, and by lately I mean probably the past 6 months, has been such that when I walk away from my streams, I don't think about this at all, which is probably best for my brain. But at the same time, it means I'm not constantly thinking about a problem and working on it. Every time I come here, it's like I'm tabula rasa. I'm back where I was the day before, and I don't get that like idle time to think about it. And I'm thinking, maybe I need to reactivate that somehow so that I have that like moment in the shower thing where I'm thinking about it in my subconscious and it pops up. But I don't know how to make that happen. So, and I don't know why it went away really. It's I think part of it is that this is so it really isn't under charts. No linker. Let me just look it up. Flowchart scripting. It's got to be a flowchart. Flowchart scripting language. I know there's Flogorithm. God, I can't think of it. Gotta find this real quick. Can't believe I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. Let me find, you know what I could do? I could find the page that we have the flowchart in. So under game, marketing ability diagram, nominal. Boop, 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 boop. Now I remember. Nominal. Okay, so we're installing Nomino. We're gonna enable Nominal. There we go. Okay, so we're back in action. Nominal. Nominal. Menu flow. Okay. Nominal. So I know in the past, if anyone here watching now has seen me with this, everything that I've been doing, I know that I got the menus I had a breakthrough with only one segment of this whole thing, and that was how to create a dynamic menu system in a pop-up state, right? And like, menu pop-ups that I'm sure there's a UI term for it that I'm not using the proper term, but so that is fine. But what's going on is we've got like, we got to bring in stat windows. Those got to go away. We need to bring up the player needs to choose their direction. Okay, that's got to go away. Could they change their mind? And we got to be able to add more in, and it's got to be triggered. The menu, and the abilities are triggering the menus. All that's fine. But I just find myself when I need to hook these things back in, my brain just goes, and I'm looking at it and it works, but I'm like, this, I can't, it shouldn't be that, so this may be the best way to flow the data, but what I'm about to do is actually probably worse from like the way that everything connects together, but is best for the programmer and his brain, so that when I look at this stuff, I can go, okay, here's everything. And this is how it all comes together. And I'm looking in a central place instead of, Well, this thing sends a signal, and this one grabs. It's the signals, man. The signals are the problem. This is what's screwing everything up for me. I feel, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm just saying, just speaking my mind right now. I don't know. Phenomenal. So how do we start a phenomenal so we say phenomenal like that. Okay. And then we just throw that in. Okay, so that's right there. There we go. Phenomenal. And menu flow. Phenomenal. And we've got frames. That's these things. Okay. So right now. Okay, first frame is stage. Stage. Let's move this over to the left. So frame 1 is stage. Stage. Oh, we need to call it frame first. See my brain. So we've got stage. Then we have frame 2, which is the menu. Right now, what we're calling menu system. Then we have frame 3, which is okay. Could we stop binging noises every time I do a single change? How do we turn this off? Synology settings. Sync rules. No. Global settings. Notifications. No. Global. Show notifications. We're going to turn those off. Thank you. Okay. Frame. And then we've got actor. Okay. And okay, so let's just make sure we're okay. How do I okay. There's our homies. And stage. So stage connects to let's get the code in order here. So we've got stage connects the trigger. Okay, so there's a trigger from combat for the actor's turn to the menu system. So there's another one, combat. See, this is what I'm talking about, where maybe it needs to be stateless too. Because maybe it just needs, maybe these things just need to say, and not menu system, but anything else just needs to say, hey, menu system, like, bleh. And then it goes, oh, okay, I'm actually doing something else right now, so I'm not going to listen to you, kind of thing. What I'm thinking is maybe this is a time to do a singleton, or maybe not a singleton outright, but like I guess it should be. Maybe that's the answer to some of this. Let's bless the stream. Well, I think. We need some famous programmers to bless the stream for. So we've got Carmack. We need a trinity of programmers. You know what? I'm not going to spend the time. I'm not going to spend the time saying how it is because it's a wreck. I don't want to unwind the yarn. Here's how I think it should go. And I think I'm just going to use pencil, but let's take this. Let's make a new one. I'm just going to go on my instinct here. Just thinking about how would I want to be able to talk to this thing? And then I can plot that out, and then we can just see, okay, can we make that happen? So what I would like to be able to do, because right now, combat has to send a signal, has to have a connection to stage to be able to send a signal to menu system. Actor's ability has to be able to send a signal up into actor, and then that goes out, and bleh, too much, right? The ability should say, hey, menu, right? Something like that. That's how this should be. Combat should be able to say, hey, menu, boop. Instead of using the signals. Because then when we're writing the code, we can look through it and we can be like, oh, it's calling the menu here. It's saying menu do this thing. Instead of being like, well, it's emitting this signal. Who's receiving this signal? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? I don't know. I coming away kind of hating signals. I'm sure they have a time and a place, and I'm sure there's a pattern for them, right? Like, if we look it up, I know that they give an example of what the pattern is called, but I sort of hate them. I'm coming away from this just hating signals. Like, here's one of the reasons why I think maybe doing the signal thing isn't the right approach. Like, I could see doing it when you have many disparate little things all over the place, like a ton of little enemies or something like that, and they need to send a message to a central place that might not, it doesn't know where it is, like something like that. Limits coupling, keeps your code flexible. This is true, but the menu stuff, I feel like is coupled. It is. It just is. What is the pattern it's based off of, though? An observer pattern. Right. This is MVC. I'm very familiar with MVC, being that I program for the web quite a lot. Observer is one of the most widely used, widely known. Right. Yeah, an achievement is a good example. Right. Right, right. Here's what I think. You know, what I really want to put on right now is the Tetris effect music. That's some good stuff. Two of my, I would say Tetris Effect is right up there with like, kind of stylistically one of my favorite games. And Wipeout, the Wipeout series, the first two, even the third one. I actually really like the third one's look overall. Hey.
Gemma's wondering if she can borrow one of your Xbox controllers so that they can all play Minecraft.
Okay. She's gonna need to sync it. The buttons on the okay.
I think she knows.
Okay. Why am I so the reason why I'm just mentioning that, I had this interesting, it occurred to me with those two games. They both heavily rely on marketing companies to produce their feel. So Wipeout used Designer Republic, to, it's just like a marketing company. They design logos and things like that. So they made the kind of the corporate-y, not really cyberpunk, but like future corp thing, and that feel for it. And the same thing, I forget the name of the marketing company, but the music, and I believe the visuals were, they hired out like this marketing company. And so the approach for those portions of the game's design were almost from an advertising perspective, which is really interesting. And for Wipeout, it makes a lot of sense that you would do something like that, because then that's what you're going for, is this futurism, ad space thing with, these future companies that don't exist, these racing corporations. And maybe it's like the future version of Pepsi that has a racing umbrella, like an F1 kind of, sponsorship thing going on or whatever. But I think for Tetris Effect, it was more for a vibe, like a sonic vibe, because the music was, I think it was using Havok, or not Havok, that's a physics engine. Whatever the music, there's that music engine that lets you do, it's all based off of the state of the game and what the player's doing and what's happening in the game state and all that kind of stuff. Wise, I think. Why do I know all this? I don't even make these things. I don't like. I've always just, this is just my milieu. But okay. All that because I wanted to play Tetris Effect music, and I'm just thinking about it. And I was just making an observation with regards to it. Okay. I think whilst I was talking, though, the reason why sometimes I ramble is because that's how I can activate that subconscious thinking. I think I have something. So let's we're going to start fresh here. Let's go to the file system here. I think I got it. Menus. It's not really menus. Let's get our words right. So what is UX? UI is the look, UX is the behavior, right? Overall interaction with an experience. And then GUI is just the visual. Okay. All right. So let's call it a GUI. Game, new folder, GUI. And we're going to create a new script. It's going to be a control. So it'll inherit control. And the GUI. Let's see, I do this crap. For now, we'll call it GUI, even though it's in a folder called GUI, but whatever. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. So this is our conductor, or the orchestrator, however we want to think about it. Now, when in our old system, let's open this up and put this over here. So we had focus. So we need terms that we need to know where we were, so that if we're in a sub, we need to be able to branch out. So when we say, like, if we have a bunch of pop-up menu items and you select it and it's changing, that menu is dismissed and now it's going to a different one, we need a go back. That's what we should have. So when we open something, yeah, we need a thing to say, okay, if the player cancels this, where is it going back to? That's good. Because that's one of the crux of the complexities that I'm dealing with is when you need to go back when the player cancels. I shouldn't have to think about that. I should be able to assign it. And maybe that happens when you choose open. It goes, okay, what's our previous menu? And if the player cancels, we go back there. Or maybe we can have the thing that's telling the menu to do it where it would go back to. But I think with the logic of the menus, that I'm playing the game in my head. The player's going to be able to just get rid of the everything and move the cursor around and select other actors on the scene and inspect them. So if a menu... Okay, so let's say we have a function called open, and we give it the name of the menu. So open menu, which is going to be an integer, and then let's hit pass here, and then we'll have a bool value for go back. I don't know what to call it, but that'll be a bool. And so if we open a menu and the flag for go back is true, then it'll retain the menu it came from. And when the player hits cancel, it'll return them back to it. So that means we do need to handle inputs. This will be the parent. So we'll handle only the cancel option from this. But see, the way the menus work, there's the GUI input. Only the active one pulls in input. If I remember correctly, let's look up control. This is why using somebody else's stuff really hamstrings you. We'll go to the tutorial here. There's GUI input. Virtual method implemented by the user. Use this method to process and accept inputs on UI elements. The event won't trigger if clicking outside the control has mouse filter ignore. Control is obstructed by another control on top of it, which doesn't have mouse filter set to ignore. Control's parent, blah, 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 blah. It happens outside the parent's rectangle and the parent or outside the parent's rectangle. Note the position is relative to control origin. So cancel might actually need to come from higher up in the GUI, out of the GUI system and in the regular inputs. So in that case, I think that might be the case. So we'll collect. So in this case, we'll always be listening regardless of input event, and then we'll just look for the cancel. And okay, this is starting to take shape in my brain. It's all in here. It's all in my brain. I just need to get it on paper. I think this will be better. We're making them better menus. If event action is action pressed P cancel. I think that's one, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, what happened? Why does it do the double quotes? Can't stand that. Wait, does that mean if I just did P? No, see, it doesn't, this is so frustrating because then when I do the quotes, now it sees it, I hit enter, it adds quotes inside of my quotes. What if I just tab? Same fudging thing. The linter, or whatever this is called, sucks. Okay. So there'll be some state here to indicate that we have focus, which makes us all those little sub menus that we've gotten created, whether or not they show up or not, open. Open implies that something will be closed. So we need some sort of verbiage. For instance, there will be show, which would be for things like stat windows and stuff. And should show menu. And so maybe it shouldn't be a menu. It should be like info. So we have that, and then also, do we keep the go back concept? Is show a reserved word? Why are we mad? There it is. Show modal. So we had focus. Canvas item. Where does show come from? Canvas item, show. Let's get rid of this. Show. Show the campus item if it's currently hidden. This is equivalent to setting visible to true. So we can't use show. Well, we had highlight. Let's ignore this for now. All right, I'm going to be right back. So give me a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. I know those embarrassing boxes. I let me just go get something and then I just get buried. So, EXO, how's it going? So yeah, I'm rethinking how we talk to our menu system. For not for the pop-ups, which we've gotten. That's all been squared away. That was something that I had to wrap my head around. But the way that we're doing menus presently is awful. So I'm rethinking it. And in my mind, I have really. How was the mac and cheese? Oh, that was delicious. That's what's funny is my wife said screw it. She wanted to make the mac and cheese, so it didn't even matter what everyone said. We ended up making the mac and cheese, so it was good. It was really good. It had that panko crust, and it was like real cheese, not the like weird liquid craft cheese. Which there's a time and a place for that. So anyway, so for the menu system, what I'm imagining, because I thought about it, why is this so hard for me? Why is this a pain in the butt? And I used Super Mario when I first started the stream. I was talking about it, but I used Super Mario World as an example of how that's not necessarily the most complex system, and you can do simple menus badly and be okay, right? So you could have a really bad implementation of a menu system for a simple menu, like something like the Super Mario World, where you show what level you're on, what power up you have in reserve, that kind of stuff. And you can do that poorly and get by. It's not that big a deal if it's done in a really bad way. But with this, the menus are part of the game. They are the UI, the GUI. This interface stuff is part of the experience of the game. It is central to this whole thing, and it's deep. It's layered. It's part of the game. It's part of the game's mechanics. And so as I've been growing it, it's becoming more and more like, I was calling it a jumble of, it's like a ball of yarn, but all kinds of like all kinds of yarn wrapped in a ball instead of just like one color or whatever. Part of the issue is how I'm using signals, I believe, is a big part of the problem. So I started to think about it, and I'm like, okay, there's really two ways to do this. I need to be able to just call the menu whenever I need it. When it needs to fire, I need to call the menu and have it do its thing. I need to handle when people are canceling a step in the menu and going back. I need a better way of handling that. And the two ways that I can think that reception of a menu call can happen is we're sending out a signal that the menu is listening for, or the menu connects to the signals of the things that would be sending them and is waiting for those to be sent. I think that the best way for extensibility is to have the menu just be like a dummy, and the things tell the menu system what to do. So when there's a new actor's turn, for instance, the combat system says, "Okay, menu, open up this," right? And here's the actor that you're opening it up for, that kind of thing. So I think that's a better way to do it. Yeah. Because right now we're doing all these signal connections through all these like different places, and it's just a nightmare. If we put the menu, a pointer to the menu system in a singleton, and then we just say, okay, the combat system readies up and we just hook in the one of the combat signals to relay to this thing, or to listen for it, or something like that. I feel like that would be better. Am I making sense? I don't know that I'm making sense. And then the other thing is, the way that we handle like canceling things. So this isn't an issue of the Godot GUI, the UI stuff in Godot, not. It's the nature of the game that this is like making this into a thing that like I have to think about way more than most normal games where you just have like a pause menu with a list of things or whatever. This is like, well, there's stats, and we show the stats, and it's based off of what the cursor is selecting, and the cursors are this interface thing too, and then the player can bring up the action menu, but then then they can select an action, but then that'll dismiss the action menu, and then now they're in choose your direction space, and then but they change their mind and they go back to the action menu. So that's where this flow of crap is just all kinds of messed up the way that I'm doing it. So I mean, this is an example of it right here. The stage makes some of the connections to the menu system. We've got like the actors doing some of that too. That kind of thing. So in this example here, we're setting up this connection for when a move finishes on the actor. We use the focus on, we fire off focus on menu combat. Why is this not happening in the sprite, right? Why is the sprite not saying, hey, menu, do this thing? So that's why we're going to redo this. So what should happen is we should be able to get rid of this move finished, because this is only triggering the menu again. We should be able to get rid of that here, this connection, and then basically say something. Now we could do like game.menu open, right? We could do that. And that wouldn't involve a signal at all. So that's kind of where my headspace is. This seems way better than the way that I've been doing it. It's coupled to the menu tightly in this way, but the menu system is part of the game. It's so integral that I suppose that the only time when this function is called, there should be a check here. Maybe. I don't think so though. I just need to make sure. I need to think about this stuff from the perspective of when the AI is making these calls. And in that case, I don't know. We'll get there. We're going to get there. So let's look at game really quick. Our only singleton, well, besides music. And let's add menu, which is going to be, right now we're calling it GUI. So let's call it GUI. And we'll give us a class name. Wait, so if we give a class name, do we need to... Not if we... Can we do this with... Could we do this with static functions? Because if we could do it with static functions, then we could say GUI open, right? And then we don't even need we don't need to point. Is that possible? Doesn't like me doing it. I have to do a new line. I hope everyone's doing good. You guys doing good? EXO, are you still here? Because I have my favorite song. Let me get the sound out to my headset so I can hear you guys. Just chilling and working. Same. Is it Machine Shop? I think it is. Let me find. Is that what everyone's telling you? I think it's Machine Shop. I'm pretty sure it is. It's near the end. I think it's the second to the last. Let me find your. Oh, okay. You lurked him. Okay. Yeah, it's second to the last. I believe. No, it is the last one. It's Machine Shop. Yeah, that's the one. Let me turn the volume down a little bit. Oh, one of the bonus tracks. Is that when you buy the album? Oh, it was second to the last one. Oh, okay. This okay. I got to tell you, man. This reminds me so much of this does remind me of Wipeout 3. Wipeout 3 soundtrack. There's a song, there's a piece on it. I can't remember which. And I'm going to get flagged if I. The Wipeout 3 soundtrack I actually really like. It's a good mix. I was just talking about Wipeout at the beginning of the stream. But yeah, I think you did an amazing job. I think it's really good. This is likely not going to have. Let me see if I can find the track that I'm thinking. So. See if I can find it. So yeah, this is it. This track called Icarus. Let me put it in here. I don't know why it gives me some vibes from this. It's got to be a combination of the some of the sonic sounds and like the beat, but it is a entirely different song. But I think it's your snare and the bass line, and there's something about it that really reminds me of this track. Anyways. Took about 8 hours to make. Yeah, who made that track? Who was that? Is that Sasha? Sasha, DJ Sasha, yeah. So, when you're doing it, are you using your own are you using software primarily for your sounds, or how are you producing the synths, the analog, the sort of digital analog sounds? Okay. I use VSTs and FL Studio. Yeah, see, everything that I remember back in the day isn't the same anymore. Okay. Okay. So that is what does that stand for? generally things that I'm using to produce sounds are generally called VSTs. Those are virtual digital audio workstation, and VSTs are like a virtual right. So this is like a virtual like mixing deck slash synth, kind of like that old software you could hit tab and it would flip around and you'd be able to like move the plugs around and stuff. Well, if you got other music, I got to listen to that too. What am I doing? Soundbanks. Gotcha. Yeah, I'll throw them on. I'll make a fave list. Is that something? Can I make an account in what are we in? What is this called? Bandcamp, that's right. Okay. So can we make static functions for this? Not really. I do posts. It's not all of my tracks because SC is dumb. I was just talking earlier because your music got me thinking about the Tetris effects. I want to say the Tetris Effect soundtrack is on Bandcamp. Yeah. So this has some really interesting tracks in it too. But it's weird. Tetris Effects is weird. I was talking about it because all of this was produced by like a marketing company. And that's like weird to me because there's actually a pretty the Years Forever, that track, and the other mix of it is actually a really good song, like on its own. And it's just weird to me that it's like this, it's tied to this game, and you're not going to hear it on, I guess nobody listens to the radio anymore, but you're not going to hear it like anywhere else. And it's kind of a bummer. It kind of makes me sad for some reason. All right, let me keep it going. Can I just random all of it? Are these in order of release? Okay. So I'm trying to visualize. I think we can do this with static functions. Oh, Bandcamp. They have like a software you can install. Kinda. Let's see. Okay, so there's no DMC. Or, not DMC, what am I saying? Digital, copyright. or digital. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to have their software to play it. Right. Hey, Obsidian. I didn't realize that was you. The highlighting got me thinking you were Tapier for a second there. What player isn't great? Just kind of exists. Okay. So if we were to, let's go here and take these and put them here. So we could we do something like this? Could we say, let's get rid of this and it would be like GUI open GUI dot combat. And then bool would be false by default. Right. Yeah. That's why I'm wondering like, is this possible? I think this might be possible for how I'm going to be doing things. So long as we set it up where we're passing what we need to have happen into it, this might be possible. I'm just trying. I'm thinking about it. I'm just trying to come up with a better way of doing the menus than the way that I've got it, which is like through listening to a bunch of signals and all that kind of stuff. I just want to be able to call it up when I want it in the code. Like, okay, rationally in the code for this thing, we want this menu element thing to open. So I don't necessarily need it to be static, but I'm kind of as a mental challenge. I'm like, can I be? Because it would kind of be nice to know that I'm not. I mean, the thing about that is that this would need to be able to talk to the menu part of the scene tree, and so we would still need a reference to that in here. So if we had let's see. Okay. With their full tree name. Yeah, exactly. So that would be okay. So I think I can do it this way. I think I can. I do not believe you can assign a node as a const. You would have to access any nodes with their full tree name. You might be right. So we can't Yeah, and I'm still probably gonna go that route with signals. Thanks, Exo. Exo also streams as well. So if you're not, recommend following them. Yeah, and that's what I'm gonna do. That's actually what I'm going for. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. I was just thinking about it. And I'm like, well, if it was static, could I do it static? Because then I can just call up the class name and say, class name open, so GUI open, whatever, and then I don't need to know necessarily where it is in the tree. And so I like that idea. So maybe, but you're right, because when you're doing static, you only have access to those consts and all that kind of stuff. So if I have a reference to where it is in the tree in a const, I could use that in the static function. So if I did in here and the const was the pathing for it, I could do it that way. But it is a question of, is it even worth the effort? And it wouldn't, like, doing it without it being that way would get us there most of the way anyways. And then if I decided that's what I want to do, then I could do that. So that's what, okay, so we're going to get us most of the way to that idea, but we're not going to make them a static function for now. But I might, just out of like a desire, I might end up doing that. But okay, so if we're not going to do that, then what we'll do is we'll just say here, we'll just make a reference to our pointer to the GUI here, and this will be class name GUI. Can we do by class name? Or do we have to do by what it extends? Can't we just do this? What are we mad about? Class GUI couldn't be fully loaded. Cyclical dependency. Okay. Well, anyways. So when we set up so the menu system is coming from, I guess what we'll do then is in ready, we'll just say game.gui equals self, and right, but if all your main UI are children of the main node, then you have that const with getChildren method. For the children, for the open. Okay. So I'm just thinking about, is the game even working right now? Have I busted it? Yeah, I busted it. Oh, that's, yeah. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, check it out. Right. And then if there's a, yeah, then you've got all the private functions for when that. Right. Right. Yeah, and presently that's the same way that I've got it set up. It's just that the way that the signal connections are happening is where the nightmare hellscape is that I've created. So I'm using the same approach, but the way that the signals are being connected is the problem. Yeah. Let me see what you're doing with the. It's on ready, right? Yeah, you go through every child. Okay, well let's start doing it. So presently we're under menus. And we're gonna call it. Couldn't save. What are we mad about? We're okay there. And we're gonna call it GUI because it's a bit more than just because we're gonna be showing stats and all that kind of stuff with this too. Are you using a screen reader? No. Okay, and then we're gonna. Yeah, I think it did. I did have menu system opened when I moved it. Let's close and reopen it. And we'll rename it to GUI. And we'll change the. We're just gonna we're balls. We're gonna go balls to the wall here. We're going straight in. Everything is broken now. We're committing to the refactor. Here we go. So here's my piece of advice for you guys, because I opened up I was talking to Obsidian about this actually. About, I want to finish up all these games that I started and didn't finish. Really simple games too, like a Pac-Man clone, right? I have all the work done for it. I just need to make some levels and some graphics. I have Pac-Man. I've made Pac-Man, but I never released it, right? So it's like, okay, the AI for the ghosts, the whole kit and caboodle, right? I just need to make levels and make my own Pac-Man, right? Just do it. And so I was opening up, I was like, oh, that's right, I made a match 3. I need to just make finish the match 3, finish it. And so I was opening that up. Guess what? I opened it up. I was in the middle of a refactor that I hadn't finished. Never do that! Don't ever commit an unfinished refactor. What the hell was I thinking? So I opened it up and I'm like, it instantly has an error, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh. Well, that's weird because this function doesn't have that parameter. It's like missing. It's like, I'm not expecting 2 parameters. Why are you doing this? And I was looking. I'm like, why the hell did what? And I was looking at it. I'm like, oh, that's right. I was in the middle of this refactor that I didn't finish. There's a game jam that pops up about finishing. Maybe I should find that one and join that. But anyways, yeah. So it's 100 times worse. Like coming back to old code. That's when you can get a real whiff. It's like your clothes. Like you've worn your t-shirts too many times. Like maybe you should only wear it one time and wash it kind of thing in the summertime, And so you come back and it has that code smell everywhere. And you're like, oh God, what is this? What was I thinking? But this is worse. It's like I came back and I was in the middle of like cutting holes into a shirt and repatching it, and I hadn't finished, and so oh yeah, underwear is a daily I'll go through multiple pairs in a day, depending on like if I'm doing, it depends on what's going on in my in the weather and all that stuff. Anyways, I sniff it daily. Yes. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about changing it. He knows what I mean. You're being facetious. But yeah, never, if you're gonna, that's the only time when I should have forked, is when you're mid refactor but you want to commit. Cause what the hell was I thinking? When you're coding by yourself, never sniff another man's drawers. That's a good rule of thumb. Okay, so never there's so many other people's drawers. Get children. Spell children wrong. I guess we could have so I think it needs to be called open menu, and then we need one that's sure, show stats, something like that. Let me turn this down. I'm just not a fan of the high pitched. Don't make open menu a signal. That sounds like a method you want to call directly. So do I do it as an override? Connect on menu, on close menu, on request. I see. Are you underscoring? Let me see what you're doing with the... Okay, so we're gonna. I'll use the word show. I think that's good because I'm gonna have multiple things that will show. I see. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm just, I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking. Show menu. So we'll call it show menu. We'll call it show. See, because there's going to be different stats. Show stat something, right? There's going to be different stats. There's going to be the combat stat stuff, but then there's also going to be like when the player goes and says, "Oh, I want to see." There's just going to be different stats. There'll be like a timeline thing and stuff like that. And they're not going to necessarily, some of them can be open at the same time. So that's going to be a little different. Sure. Obsidian's just like, Obsidian again is as my chat GPT. He's like a human, he's my human AI. That's actually how I use why I stream. One of the reasons why I stream is because it's like chat is like a little a feedback, a noise, like a feedback machine. Show menu, show stat. Create an autoload script where all nodes send stats that can call a method like give a stat. Yeah, that's kind of how. So like with the actor information, that's kind of what's going on. No need to worry about where anything is in the tree at all. So when you say auto load, what is that? What do you mean by auto load? These are terms. So is this essentially singleton? Right, inherits from node. For all intents and purposes. I got you. Okay. All right. Yeah, I like that. I like that. To all your scripts, yeah. Okay. All right, so we'll do something like that then. Right. I haven't even gotten there yet. It's a whiles away. Denaldi, hope you're having a good day. Yeah. No, it's I mean, this menu thing, I was getting by with it, but as I started to add in a period of 48 hours, I had added 2 new menu things in it, and both times I was like, "Wait, how does this work? Wait, how does this work?" And I just knew because it was all using signals and everything, but the way the connections were happening from, I guess you could say, from the outside, and it was like this is all kinds of wrong, and it's like it was enough for me to be like, okay, this is something I have to tackle. And I knew when I was making the menus, as I was doing it, every time I would touch the menus, I would vocally say during the stream, I don't like this. This is wrong. But I just kept going, and I should have just listened to myself and been like, no, pump the brakes. You gotta rethink this. Yeah, I like that you're using, if it has the method, and you're using the check for a method before you do the connection. That's rational. It's a bit like a state pattern. Actually, I backed out of that. Now I have a base class. I see. Oh, I see. So you subclass it. If the item is an instance of the base class, I know the methods are there. This is true. I like that as well. And why not make it it's costly. Well, yeah, it has to do it's like when you're checking if it's got the setters and stuff, right? Or if it has the yeah. My instinct is to just create the overrides, the functions we would override in GUI and subclass GUI, but then we would have these things in here that we wouldn't want to accidentally call from because then we would get like a recursive loop. So I guess we could just, what I could do is, since we're going to do something like a stat and a menu as different things, I could have one called menu and one called stat, and handle those in their respective ways. So that's what we'll do. Well, if you were going to say that, then I'm on the right track, right? Where's my Godot? Here we go. Man, we're gonna rip out a bunch. This is a massive reconstructive surgery. New script here. Node. Yeah, have your UI show a HUD. Pretend to be a menu. Yeah. We'll call this. The HUD itself has all the stats. HUD is a good word for what it is I'm trying to vocalize for the way that the stat stuff is going to work. It's like a contextual HUD, except that much of the context is provided by the player's inputs, so to speak. A human interface display. Human information display. That's what it stands for. Yeah. So GUI menu. a lot of this stuff is going to go away. Ooh, this is nice. I can feel it. I can feel it. Let's go over here. Let's get rid of game. We don't need to see you right now. Goodbye. Are we mad? Is that already exists? References, game references menu. So now we're going to kill the references. We're breaking everything. Goodbye. Let's get rid of you. Let's just delete it. Yeah. I might give it a cool sounding marketing name. With I knew Klingon, I would love to name all of the scripts and methods. If I knew Klingon, I would love to name all the scripts and methods in Klingonese. I didn't know it was called Klingonese. Wish I knew. Yeah. So it's not called Klingon. It's Klingonese. Didn't know that. Okay. So let's create. Yeah, this is going to change a lot. How long is this going to be broken for, I wonder? Stats. Menu stat. HUD. Let's call it a HUD. GUI HUD. And then control for now. Hey, you called the office. What's up?
I don't know where Mama is.
You don't know where she is? Is Orion's door closed?
Yeah. She's either in there or he's just sleeping. I never heard him wake up.
Well, she must be doing something with Orion. What did you need, sweetie?
But the door's closing.
What did you need, Gemma? What did you need? Why are you calling for Mama?
I didn't call you. I wanted to know where Mama was.
Oh, well,
Joe said that Mama was probably in the office where you are.
Oh, well, I think she's with Orion if the door's closed, sweetie.
I really wanted to ask if I could wash a movie.
All right. Here's the deal.
What?
Aunt Sarah's been asking you to write what you're going to do with her bucket list, right?
What?
Aunt Sarah's wanting you to write a little list of things that you want to do with her before she has to go back to California.
I already wrote it.
Okay, can you add 2 more things to it?
Yeah.
Okay, add 2 more things to it, and then you can watch a Bluey. All right?
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye. Truth be told, it's a fictional language, but calling it Klingon is like calling our language human. Yeah, it's true. Because it's a reference to a species. Although, if it was like hardcore sci-fi, I could see alien races referring to any human language as human because we would use our mouth and lips and tongue and all of that stuff and our throat to make noise. And it's possible that to them, it all sounds the same. And so they'd be like, well, that's human, you know? So I could see that. But Klingon, they have a mouth, a tongue, teeth, and a throat to speak with, and nasals and all that stuff. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, we do. Yeah, but it would be funny. Yeah. Well, I always thought, what I always thought was strange is why every single language seeks to rename the names of countries to something else. Like, I never understood that. Like, when you realize that in the native tongue of like a country, they call it something else, and we could call it that too. But then we go, And every other language does this too, where they're like, you know what? That country has the name, they call it this, but we're going to call it something else. And it's like, why does that happen? I got it. There's got to be like is there a reason? Like, I never understood that. Like, why, that always confused me. That's true. Well, with stuff like that, I can see how, like, everything ends up getting anglicized, right? So I could see doing that with like Swedish names, where you take it and you phoneticize it for the language to be able to say it the way that it would be said, or close to an approximation of it. But like Japan is it Nippon? And it's like, why don't, like, we can say that. Why do we call it Japan? Where did that come from? And that's where the etymology of that kind of stuff is really fascinating to me, because there's got to be, at the time that the name was given, there had to be a etymological reason for using that as a way to call the place or people that thing. And that's what's really fascinating to me, because that seems to get lost to time. And that's really interesting. That's interesting to me. Yeah, and in the case of some places, we just prename an area, like with Indians, right? And we go, oh, well, this must be India. And so we prename, that kind of thing happens too. It's really, really fascinating. Anyways, what would you rather call it, star? I call it blurp. Call it blurp. Blurp. New Blurpington. There's Blurp, and then there's the other planet that they later went to called New Blurpington. I could see, if it means something awful in the one language, or it's like an insult or something. It's like, okay, well, we gotta, like, it's called that, but we can't call it that. Like, what if we're two civs that are visiting the same star, name it differently, but neither of us own the star? Visiting the same star. Yeah. That's how wars begin. Um, and I guess we could call it by its... Yeah. It's strange. It's like it's How about that J name that shows up in a prominent religion? There's two ways I know of to pronounce the same grouping of letters. Well, that's kind of a problem with English. And that's why I get like if but in the case, there's so many country names that we can say that there's no reason why the rename happened for it's something that's not even possible to say in this language properly or something like that. But I'll say with the example of Texas, I mean, at least it's closer to the place name, you know? So that's the part that's like, that's the part that confuses me with some of this stuff. And that's where I wonder about the etymological, like, cause of that. Like, what is that? True, my first name can't be pronounced in Japanese. Yeah. And so, yeah, so they have their own, like, they have their own phonetics for English. But even then, they can't say, there's just certain letters that can't be pronounced very well for native speakers. Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's hard to get past. You develop, language is developed very early, and then it's all about, like, you know, these sounds that you make in the tongue and all the stuff that you do, and you develop this muscle, your muscle in your mouth, basically, for how to speak. And so other languages, because you're not speaking them natively, can be incredibly difficult to speak in. I do remember learning Spanish initially and like rolling R's and stuff like that. Like that when you would say it, when you would speak in it long enough, it would actually like hurt. Like you'd need to take a break. It's yeah. But I do wonder, I really do wonder about the etymology of it. Like, I do feel that there's probably some other reason besides we're just going to call it what we want to call it. So there's other sounds in Spanish besides the rolling R that I mean, I still can't roll R's. Yeah. But I do like rolling the R. Yeah. Oh, this is on all windows. That's why I was getting confused. Okay, so here's the problem with this go back idea. If we're going to emit a signal, the connection's somewhere else. So here's the other thing. We probably need to move our stats and the HID stuff or the HUD stuff. Couldn't use. Just connect. You're right. Sorry. Because it's coming from here. Because if we loop on here, so maybe we should have a sub. You don't want to connect? Yeah, that won't be a problem, right? So if we have GUI, And then we can, let's add, how should we do this? Yeah, you plug one into the outlet and then you plug the other into the other side of the outlet, so you get double the power. No, it is possible, and I have done that myself. Because yeah, sometimes you want to emit the signal and not also have to call a function for the class itself. And so doing a connection to self that's common. I feel like I do that a lot in buttons and stuff. Well, like on press for a button, you know. Yeah, it's not funny. I agree. So if I do this, am I gonna regret life? If I make a control called menus, and then I put what is overview? Nothing. That's going to be one of the stat things. Don't save. And then this needs to be, and then this one will be called HUD. HUD or stats. Okay. So let's look up get children really quick. Is get children part of object? Let's find out. Node. Turns an array of references to a node's children. So if we get the children of menus, so now we're just connecting our menus. And then we'll do the same thing for HUD. We'll have a name for HUD. For every child in the HUD, we'll set up the HUD. For child in HUD, get children. I don't know. I always spell children wrong. Connect. Showing HUD. Child. Okay. Oh, no, not yet. Yeah, we're sketching things out. Negative. No, no on the unit tests. Honestly, like I don't even know how to go about writing unit tests for a video game. In the like to me, it's like it needs to be something that just runs the game and tries different scenarios or something. Um, Not yet. No, that's what we're moving towards. I'm just trying to get a game loop done. And then my plan is to throw it on itch right away after I get rid of all the copyrighted elements of the Mario and all that stuff. And then God, Denaldi, you son of a bitch. Stop razzing me. I'm just trying to make a game and I'm one man. I look at these people like I watch why don't you have inline documentation for your codes why aren't you using a doc block or something like that for all your functions? Hey, speaking of music, what happened to music? So I guess what we could do here is we can say emits signal, because this is how I'm going to do it. I don't want to have to handle the closing part. So we're going to go hiding menu. And then we're going to say, and this will be if there's a previous menu. If previous menu, then we emit signal hiding menu. And we say the previous menu. Whether or not it even existed, doesn't matter. And if this is going to be a little weird, previous menu equals menu, and then showing menu. So what do you guys feel like when you do something like this? Do you guys like just kind of give it a little breathing room like that? Or am I weird? Or do you just leave it like that? Hide if they're not the ones. The menus should hide if they're not the ones being requested. Menus should hide if they're not the ones being requested. I agree. Or at least that's how I'm doing it. It varies. Just look at my main menu script. I did, though. Main menu. Oh, they all have the handler for show menu, close menus. Actually, that's the UI script. But this, for you, the way you're doing it, it requires that you fire this off, right? In order to close the other menus, right? So you need to fire close menus before you run show menu. Am I understanding that right? No, the close menu isn't required. I'm just trying to understand. So what about this makes the other menus go away? On menu requested. Menu name. In a later variant, I don't close menu at all. So I'm just trying to understand though. When you do this, how does the existing open menu know to go away? On menu requested. First line. Visible. Oh. I get it. And name is set to name is the name of the class, or the not the class, but the child name. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So visible. I've just never seen the results. I didn't know you could run a comparison and have that be the returned value on a setter for a variable. I had no idea you could do that. So that's really cool. I didn't know you could do that. That's dope. But I am with Denaldi on it. So, because what I want to do in my world, I want to put this in an if statement and then set a bool to it or something like that when I do that. You know what I mean? Like I want to do this where I go, if something like this, then we change the visible to, so we could do like if menu name is not name, then we set visible to false. And now I can understand what's going on there better. Yeah, for me, for my brain, and just so that when I, because I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could have a comparison be, I didn't know you could do a comparison that returns a value technically, and that is then what you can set to. That to me is bizarre. But it works, but I didn't know you could. For Raiders, Manadano, thank you for the raid. The issue is that if statements take longer than just returning comparison. I see. But this is like fractions of I'm just opening a menu. We don't need to pre-optimize, but I get it. Thank you for the raid. Manadano, I hope I'm saying that right. What were you working on? I presume you weren't just playing like a game and then you decided to raid some guy who's programming. Pre-optimize it. This reminds me of that code that was getting shared around on Twitter the other day with the progress bar and the long string of if statements, and everyone was like, well, it could be this way and be this, big O this much more or whatever, like and it's like, but it's fine, it's running what, like, it's, you don't worry about it. And it was C code, so it's like, well, the compiler is also going to do all this stuff, so is it really that important for this thing that's only going to get called once every? But I get it. I get that. I totally get where Obsidian's coming from a best practices. It's like, well, if it is faster and it does do the same thing, and you're working with like GDScript for in this case, and it's like, okay, may as well like to get that habit in. But I get both sides of it, because it's like build the habit so that when that thing is running in a loop, say, and it's doing it like 1,000 times, then it's like, well, you're already there. You already know you should be doing that. Yeah. I was just like playing a game and then decided to review, but I make games as well sometimes. Okay. I was totally I presumed wrong. This scenario I gave was exactly what happened. Yeah, what game? Steel Battalion. I gotcha. Yeah. So I'm with Obsidian and I'm not at the same time. But I get knowing those things. Yeah, a lot of it does come down to it. Like, I just start thinking about like that kind of stuff when I'm doing things and I know I'm going to be iterating on like a massive set of things or something. What are you like what kind of games do you make? What's your wheelhouse? Is it a little bit of everything? Or yeah, it's true. It's true. But in the same sense, you could look at Doom code and you could be like, why isn't it doing it this way? And the answer is because of optimization. That's where it's weird. Things get weird, right? But I'm also with you on indie games being really poorly optimized, which is, it sucks for the guy making the game because they end up, having to source out to some other company to make the Switch port or whatever. And then come to find out everything they wrote is horrible. It runs fine on a PC with like certain settings and all that kind of stuff and hardware or whatever. And then on the Switch, it's just like you got this giant texture that you're using for something. And it's like, maybe if you had thought a little bit ahead of time on that. I'm making an educational game about ants and an RPG about not ants. Gotcha. Oh, you've been there. An educational game about ants. That's interesting. SimAnt is the only game about ants I can think of off the top of my head. Is there like from an educational standpoint, is there a certain, like, to use a big term, is there a certain pedagogy that you're approaching the educational component of it to? Like how does the learning happen in the game? If that's kind of that might be a really big question for you to have to type in a chat window. Yeah. Well, the game loop necessitates optimizations where you wouldn't expect it. Because typically, depending on when the code is firing, it could be every frame. And so there is an element of, like, for instance, when I made the hexagon matching game, I had to really optimize the code that checked if the board was in a non-solvable state, because that needed to fire after any time you change the state of the board, and that would have to go before another frame draw, otherwise you get a hitch. And so there's other ways of doing it. Like I could have multi-threaded it and had it like wait a little bit and then like faked it, kind of like where, but in my case, it was like, well, I should really optimize this so that we don't get that like hitch. But the problem is even that optimization, ultimately I probably should multi-thread it, because that optimization is only as good as the hardware I'm running it on. And it's potentially that it could take longer than a frame step in other hardware, right? So I should be able to thread it or something and have it run somewhere else. Cause it potentially on like a slower machine that hiccup would still happen. The learning will be two-branched. The interactive experiences to engage with core concepts and ancillary interactions for more specific definitions. Okay. Yeah, I will. Thanks for reminding me, because I got stuck in a mid conversation thing. Yeah, so the primary game loop, uh you could think of it as a way of allowing the learner to like memorize or learn concepts. I see that for more specific definitions. Ants are weird. Are you visualizing the their like scent trail thing? Um and ants are like fascinating, like how they, cuz ants are like little tiny state machines. An Altair, like in are you referring to Assassin's Creed? I got you. Yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, I got a Manadano. I got certified in ages 3 to 6 for Montessori to homeschool my daughter in the early years. And like I do find it did change the way I think about how people learn. There's also a really interesting talk from John Blow, talking specifically about like games and how they could be applied in education, that actually kind of I don't know that he is aware of those, the concepts that you find in like the science of learning and stuff like that, but he hit on a couple of those ideas in just his own thinking. But that's an interesting talk too. But I do think that if you take an approach of making it a good game, and if you do it right, it should be a fun game, and the learning comes from the play, right? And so, like, the worst kind of educational games are the ones that are like, here's a wall of text, and or we're gonna be really bludgeoned you with the old way of learning, which is just rote memorization. But that comes free in games, right? When you're repeating a game loop or something like that, the memorization can come from that, from those interactions and stuff. You ask any kid a question about Minecraft, and they know so much, and it's really frustrating. I think about this with Pokemon, because Pokemon's like this missed opportunity to teach kids about like bugs and wildlife and all this stuff, because they know all these stats about a non-real thing. And it's like, damn it. Like, cause that's a great vector to teach kids like real facts about actual living things. And instead their brain is getting filled. Not that I have anything against this at all, but it's also really frustrating, cause it's like this, this completely like tied to nature, but made into this IP. But it could have been this wonderful vector for like teaching kids about, facts about nature and stuff. Anyways, I get frustrated about Pokemon so much, where it's like, dang it, this thing. Okay, let's get back to what we were doing. But where I live, it's really cold, and it's really interesting to see how the ants behave here. It seems entirely different than what I saw in warmer climates, which is really strange. They tend to, and I think it might be to stay warm actually, but they tend to, like, when they're outside the nest, they'll hive together a lot, like in a big group, and I see that a lot here, and I didn't see that as much in other warmer climates. So I don't know. I think they go out and they like bake in the sun when the sun is out or something. And then they stay together to like keep insulated, or I don't know. It's strange. Okay, let's see. What was I doing? Oh, we're going. We're not. We don't need actor. What are we doing? We are going to need. So we'll say that this on an if. Go back previous menu. Else. Can we do null? Do we have to do an empty string? I don't like that. On a completely random note, I came across a video about building a 100% new Commodore 64. Oh, I saw that one as well. I'd be so tempted if I did more with the system. I've really wanted to start to play around with like programming hardware, like the Arduino and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff with that. Frozen, good evening. Yeah, it seems like you should be able to have a Commodore 64 on a chip by now, right? Like that should just be like how they put the PS1 hardware as part of one of the chips that the PS2 could talk to. And then whenever you booted from a PS1, it was just like, oh, there's the chip. I can talk to it right there. Do they have like an Arduino? Like for my kid, I do Atlas crates and like these learning crates. Do they have like an Arduino nerd crate thing? Dude, I'd love to see you stream some of that. They did Creative Crate, I think it was. Ah. There's an arcade where we live. Of all things, there's actually a legit arcade here. And they have this Space Invaders game, and it's all just an LED panel. It's this giant thing. And I was like looking up the cost of like the LEDs when, you know, obviously if you're ordering wholesale from China or something, it'd probably be way cheaper. But it's like, how hard would it be to build this? And it's not a question of hard, it's a question of cost. Creation crate. Okay. I really need to get back to programming. Let's see. Let me get this on the stream. This is cool. Maybe I should do this with my kid. Chemistry. Electronics is like a breadboard and yeah, a lot of this STEM, the push for STEM stuff, unfortunately, a lot of it is absolute and just awful. But this looks interesting. But yeah, we'll go to like there'll be some STEM thing at the library or something, and it's actually, frankly, it's just like this is horrible. This is horrible. This is cool. Ooh, the yeah, since I'm homeschooling, I might be able to actually purchase this as part of her learning. Interesting. Okay. It did make me less nervous with electronics. The best Should I tell this? Should I tell the story? So my GPA in high school was awful, and it was 100% just me being bratty teenager and not being interested in anything that was being taught to me. The best schooling I ever had when it came to this stuff is when I would be allowed to do something else. And that came in the form of summer school, having to make up, your grade. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, here's a really cool electronics course. And it'd be like, why the fudge aren't you teaching this in school? Like, why do I have to almost like fail out of high school in order for you to like throw me into this summer school thing with all this cool crap? Why isn't that why isn't that what I'm doing in, cause then it was like, this is dope. Like, and like learning all that stuff and having so much fun with it. But then going back, in the grind, and it was just like the same boring stuff that I had absolutely no interest in. Whether my parents knew that or not, I had enough batteries to start a fire. When I was a kid, I started taking extra Christmas lights, and hooking them up to batteries. That's cool. At the time, I even used instructions to create a board to emulate a C64 floppy drive. See, that's the fun stuff. But unfortunately, I think the push for the STEM stuff. Hey.
Could you hold on for a minute?
Yeah, come here, little man. Ooh.
I fell asleep with him. I'm really out of it, and it's super late.
Okay.
So I'm getting ready.
You want to say hi to everybody? Ooh, yeah, there's you. There's you. Say hi to everybody.
And I gotta grab something out of the freezer.
Say hi. We need to get you a haircut. What's going on with your hair? You look like a beach boy. Say hi. You want to say hi to everybody? Can you say something? Here, let's move the mic. Say hi. Say hi. Who's that? Who's that right there? You're climbing up. This is dead air. You got to say something.
Ugh.
There we go. Yeah. Ugh. I know, it's a big bright light, huh? Mommy just handed you to me. Now I'm stuck with a baby. I'm stuck with your baby.
Baba.
Buttons. That's right. There's a bunch of buttons there, huh? We don't want to hit any of them, though, unfortunately. They look cool, though. Is there any buttons here you could push? Here's a controller here. You could push the buttons on the controller. You want to push these buttons? There you go.
Did you decide if you wanted to go or stay?
Well, how long do we have?
There's no time to do what I needed to do before, so half hour ish.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go. I want to spend as much time with Sarah as I can. So.
Okay.
Uh-oh. He's hacking the mainframe.
All right, come on.
Okay, buddy. You got the buttons?
That means I probably need to go to Walmart tonight and look at fireworks.
Well, then I should come so I can help you with like the kids and everything. Like,
Tonight?
yeah. Oh, you mean?
Like after bed.
Oh, okay.
Because we also need water anyway. Papa. So instead of going to Joann's. Buttons.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I put you down? I got to get back to work. Even though I was just chatting. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. That was my boy. Okay, so I guess we don't need a hiding menu since when the showing menu fires. See, that's a good pattern that I've not thought of in my prior work. Thank you, Obsidian. All right, this is still like a work in progress. Showing menu, and then if it's set to visible, do we do show? Show would be, we could do show, which is the same as setting visible to true. But how is it? And then grab focus. That's right. Okay. So grab focus is the, how are we doing it in, let's see. All right. Same here. I need to focus. Yeah. See, this is, all this bad code is going to go away. Yeah. Set focus mode. So this is going to be unique depending on, and then we can override this whenever we want to do something special for showing menu. But then we still need to remember this pattern if we're going to override it. I can type. Then we don't need this. Although we may want to add something for like fancy animations. Okay. Feels... Closed menus is to... I see where you're using closed menus. The issue with grab focus. That's why I think I had to do this, the set focus mode. Only interactable controls like buttons, sliders, etc. I think that's why I was doing what I was doing with the... So this is an example of... Doesn't, when you say grab the focus, let me see what you mean. That's why in iMain menu I grab focus explicitly on my start button because that's where I want the focus to start. I see. I see. Right. And an example of let's look at, for instance, combat. We have pop-up menu here. That's why I was using the visibility changed. Right. So on the visibility changed, I would do show, and I think that's what was making, that's what would, if there's no focus in the control, then the keyboard and joypad input is not read. Well, so I'm able to do this though. Like for instance, with cursor, there's nothing, right? It's actually just a control. So I can still collect inputs in this case, even though there's nothing, no element to it. I can still get GUI inputs. And that is being brought up using the pattern that I had before, which looks like this, where I go and when one of them set the focus, I just manually grab the focus. Except right. Because you're explicitly defining those interactions. I see what you're saying. You're saying for the I see. We'll see. When I run into that problem, I'll hear your voice. But if you just want your button to read the joypad inputs without having to write a script, right? I gotcha. Then you need to explicitly say what to do, and maybe then when I do my override, when I extend menu for the menu item, I should say the grab focus step there. But we still want this. See, this is where I'm thinking, do I just have this here like this and I just overwrite it on the because then I would need to, if I want this to fire, I have to remember to call it every time as well on the parent. And I don't want to have to remember. So okay. Right, and then call, I was thinking that too, and then call it in here. So, and then that be the one that I override for the virtual method in the subclass menu. I see what you're saying. So it would be like in the else statement, we would do something like menu grab focus. Or just, we could just say grab focus. I guess we could return. We could return a bool here. No. The art of creating an interface class. This is the problem with not knowing. I really need to read that patterns book. I have it, but I nay have I ever opened it up and read it. I'm staring at it right now. It's over there. Okay. So let's start rethinking this stuff then and get one of these. God, we're going to have to do each one of these. This is going to be a 2-day process, it looks like. So we're going to extend menu instead. And we need to override grab focus. So I guess we could do it earlier. There's a bunch of crap in here we're going to be able to get rid of too. That'll be nice. It's safer to extend the script path directly. Why is that? I get how to do it, but why, I guess, is the question. Right. What's past knowledge brought you to that, though, is what I'm trying to get at. Because if you have to change the name of the class, or right, I'll suffer the consequences. We'll see. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. It's more stable. All right, it's more stable. Let's copy the path. And does it need to be backslashes? This is weird. See, you make me do weird things. Is it relative? No, it can't be relative. Right. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with the... It seems like the the pits for now. Same pathing, so it would be like this. Okay. I'm gonna keep the name for now. We'll see if I regret that. Okay. This is so weird. Like, what is this doing? Okay, and so we don't need this or this. It's also the only way to extend a custom script that you don't otherwise give a class name to. Ah, I see. I see what you're saying. And sometimes you wouldn't, like, yeah, I could see sometimes when you wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to name it. I gotcha. And then we have the submit signal cancel. So this is the only other thing, the concept that I have that I don't think necessarily existed in your setup, is the idea that we could be inside of something and need to pop back out to the existing thing. But now that we're using this new way of doing it, we don't even really need to think of it that way, because basically we say, when we say cancel, we say menu, we say GUI. Is it, how are we going to get, oh, it's in the game. Game. So we would go, let me bring back the code, make sure it was here. It was, okay. So it would be, I'm getting game.gui, and what was it? I've already forgotten. Show menu. And so we just cancel, we have the same thing, and in this case, it would be, this is the cursor. So we would, when we cancel, we would go back to combat. Show menu combat. Dope. So now we don't, now that's all gone. Ah, it's okay. You can tell I'm 40 because I say dope, right? That's old man. That's old man talk. Okay. I have the stream going on the phone and Odie just said Papa. Dang it. So my son, Orion, he will not call me Papa to my face. We don't understand why. Why, Orion? Why? Tell me why. He'll say Papa when I'm not there. He'll refer to me. Like if I'm on the other side of the door, he'll say Papa. But then when I'm there, do you guys know what he calls me? He calls me Mama. What is this? I'm not Mama. I'm Papa. What is it? Why, Orion? Anyways, okay, so let's just keep going here. You know, what'd be really cool is doing all this and it just suddenly, it's just fine. It works. Wouldn't that be neat? He's referring to the phone as Papa. Oh no. What does that mean? Okay, so let's look at combat. We have a pop-up menu. So then all we do is we just grab focus. See? And we go, this is where we're going to do the pop-up. So we show the pop-up. That automatically gets focus. And why are we doing this clear thing? Is that what is that? Okay. So before we show, and then I'm guessing, if I remember correctly, moved. Why do we have moved? Thanks, you too. And what is moved about? Moved. What the hell? Why am I calling this? Well, whatever that was, it's gone now. I don't know what the deal was. What was I doing? There's like an unfinished thought. Okay, so that should take care of. Oh, we need extends menu. Okay, so that should take care of that. Have you eaten? No, I've not eaten. Show. Clear. So the thing that I'm worried about, though, if we go back to combat, can I undo? Let's go back. So we're using visibility. So we need to set this to visible. We need to set pop-up menu to visible. No, because we run show, which is the equivalent of saying to pop up, right? Which would make it visible. I believe. Where is show? No, show's not a... Show is me. What tells it to open? Oh, this is now in GUI. Show clear. Oh, pop up. There it is. Okay. Okay, so that's takes care of those two bad boys. And then we have our direction, our new direction. New direction. Gosh, funny. Choose direction. Emit signal show. Oops. Right, we don't need that anymore. And then this is something we're going to have to look at. And then this is something, yeah, this is an example of the cancel thing that I was talking about. So, this input event is critical to one of the ideas that we're trying to accomplish here. We have to use input, not GUI input, because we can't have this be the focused GUI element. If we're telling something else to be the focused GUI element, it's going to grab all the GUI inputs. So we have to go one step above that, so to speak, and collect cancel events on the input level, not on the GUI. And then we, there's some stuff I have to do here, so that, because one of the ideas of the menu system is that you can, like, say for instance, you choose to move your character somewhere. The pop-up menu that comes from will be dismissed. And now you're in the cursor control state. And you tell it where you want to move that actor on the scene. But the player may say, I changed my mind and I want to go back. And so when they choose to cancel that with their whatever button press it is, we need to go. Okay, but okay. This is a little weird. So this is where we use previous menu. So previous menu, when we assign that, if we pass show menu with go back, then we assign a previous menu, and that allows us to, when cancel is pressed, go back to that menu to basically show that menu. So let's get that going then. So if action is pressed, cancel, and we have a previous menu, then we say show menu and that previous menu. I think that's all we need to do, because that'll run this here, which will make all the other menus not visible. I think that's it. So then what we need to remember to do is on the menus where we want to have a go back, we need to pass a bool to indicate that. So let's think about that. When we're in combat, so this is what it'll bring up. The cursor is somewhere in here. No, actually it happens somewhere completely different. Okay. Right. So these fire off abilities. So what happened in the ability side? So in the case of yeah, I'm already feeling better about this. I know I'm not running the game at all because it wouldn't run right now. So I'm trusting that my brain is capable of handling all the changes that I'm making. And that these will actually work when I hit run, or at least we'll be close to it working. But there's no sense in me hitting run just yet because there's too many. It's such a big refactor that I know it wouldn't even succeed right now, so I'm not even going to bother. And I hate to stop this midway. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stream the rest of this tonight. I can't leave this floating in my brain and come back to this in 24 hours. I need to finish the thought. You know what I could do is I could bring my laptop with me where I'm going and finish it up that way too. Okay, but let's get to what we were doing, which is we were looking up actors, and we were looking up their what was it? Abilities are in jobs right now. This is gonna all move, but intern, for instance, we pass intern to the actor, so the actor has, and the reason why we're doing that is what? So we can send a signal intern. And that's fine. That's all fine. But this is where we can also say game.GUI. No. Hang on. Sorry. Intern is what is going to cause the Is it open? No, show menu. And this menu will be direction. So when you end the turn, you pick what direction you're facing. So we show that menu. And this is where, when we do this, okay, that's what I'm talking about. When we do this, we pass true. So that we know that we save the previous menu, and then if the player hits the cancel button, we bring up that previous menu. So in the case of, I don't think there'll be a single case with any ability when it's run that this won't be true, that we would want to allow the player to cancel, because there will be some sort of confirmation that they have to do. Okay. This seems fine. We can. Yeah, there's so much we got to rip out now. Yeah, so so we connect move finish on the actor sprite. So if we go to actor sprite, we can actually we can change that in there instead. So I don't know that this signal even needs to exist anymore, but we'll find out. We're going to get rid of this. And then when move finished happens, we say game.GUI show menu combat. Now, the only thing about some of this, it'll be fine. We'll be okay. Okay, so that gets rid of that signal connection there. And then here's another one. No, that one's fine. No, this is coming from the menu system. So this we're going to have to deal with. And same with this one. Actor's turn. So we can deal with that now. Let's go over to combat. This is good. We're getting rid of all of these. We're still using signals. It's just where this is happening, we can just call the menu, and the menu takes care of sending the signal to the, I guess you could call it like sub-menu. The GUI takes care of sending it to the menu. And then we just get rid of all these massive connections everywhere, and get rid of all this threading. I don't know what to call it, like the threads. All of this is like patch, like it's like a giant quilt, when it should just be like one thing. Okay, so we got to go to combat, which is in stage. And then here is where we would say on the actor's turn, active turn, here we go. Game.GUI show menu. We're setting the current actor, so we're gonna have to change a little bit about how we establish who the active turn is. Let's comment this out. This is feeling. I mean, the fact alone that I'm getting rid of lines of code here. It's like, okay, something about this is better than the way I was doing it before. But it really was a amalgamation of disparate connections of signals, which worked. But the pattern was bad from me being a human being. Yes, Frozen, do some game stuff. Yes. Light the flame. Okay, so we're connecting. Okay, so this was the old code for the menu. So this, and then we were doing this, and then look, we were doing more connections. This is why this sucked. This sucked. Yeah, and all this is going to go away. So now when we introduce, this is so much better. It sucked. Okay, so highlight actor, and then this is what was bringing up the menu. Okay, so this is all that we need left from all of this. And so highlight, we need to put in highlight actor. All this stuff happens, and then we're focusing on combat. So when we show combat, so this is going to happen in combat. Okay, so here. Okay, so let's make this bigger. Yeah, this is way better. Showing menu. Okay, so in combat, not in combat, but in combat control, and these names suck. These names, we need better names for this stuff. Showing menu. We say all we needed to do now is just get rid of that. These two things. And so this is the part where so it needs to pass a string. So if I override this, I could put all this in the grab focus. So highlight game dot current actor, which probably could just be part of that function. Then this happens like that, and maybe it doesn't even need to be a function at this point. Image signal highlight. Oh god, I gotta un. Oh my god. This is good, but this is like a bunch of knots that I'm untying. Oh my god. I mean, it's good, but god, this was so bad the way I was doing this. God, I almost want to emit signal highlight. Where is all this going? This is why this is so bad. To camera gimbal. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. What a wreck. What a wreck this was. Okay, let's get this over here, and let's get menu over here so that we just have our two things that we're writing that okay, so that's over there. All this is going to go away. That's right. Highlight highlight told the camera where to position itself to. Okay. So okay. But the other thing it did was it changed one of the stat menus. That's right. Okay. So I'm going to comment this out. This is a reminder that we're trying to show when you combat. That's what's okay. That's what's happening now from combat. When that turn is active, that's what's going to fire this. Then, so we have to deal with highlight. Highlight does two things. One, it tells the camera where to go, so it tweens the camera to that location. And then it also will indicate to the stat system to change the stats that it's showing at that moment. So we got to get the stats going for the menus. Yeah, all this is going away. All this code will go away. This is going bye-bye. Then this will go away. This is going to go away. So that's good. And then, all right. Okay, so the highlight concept, we're emitting this signal actor's turn. We need to make sure that this highlight concept is not coupled with the menu system. Because when the AI is telling the game to do something, we still want this to fire regardless. Like during the AI steps, we're not going to be showing like, oh, it's picking this menu item or whatever. It's just going to do the motions. So highlight needs to be separated from the menu system. Otherwise, it won't fire when the AI is doing its thing. So it's kind of feeling like this is something that should be in combat. But we're already emitting this signal. This is being connected here. So Yeah, that'll make that redundant. Is it time to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the car warming up. Oh.
All right. It's time for me to go. Thank you everyone for hanging out. I appreciate everybody, all you folks out there. Let's find somebody to raid. Is there anybody I'm following who, you know what? I'm going to follow, Manadano so I can catch a stream. And Fallonier is a good one, but let's just see if we got any other Godot brothers out there. It's just me and Curiosity. So let's we'll do. There's an ad. Go like that, and let me get the raid code going. I wish you could raid from the channel that you're screening. I would love to be able to just do the raid command in there, or the big fat raid button. Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be nice. /raid Curiosity. All right.
She's an honest.
Okay, much love to y'all out there. Thank you for watching. I hope I don't seem like a complete idiot. My hair is not doing me any favors. I think I need to change the part because of where the camera is. The vain nature of me says I must. Anyways, have a good day. Bye.